Good morning. Welcome to 3H. Today we've got Travis with us. Thanks for Travis coming in. Before we get started, a reminder of what 3H is about. Hope, hospitality, hustle, and how that influences our lives as young men and how we influence others. And so today we've got somebody that I believe influenced a lot of guys my age, probably younger, even older, through Bob Jones and the soccer team, and I'm sure has influenced plenty after that. And so I'm looking forward to the conversation. So thanks again, Travis.
Thanks, AJ, for having me on, man. It's an honor to be on your podcast. So I'm excited.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've really talked in general. So, and obviously we caught up a little bit beforehand, but at least for me, I kind of, I don't want to say lost track, but once you get married and you're out of school, and I left 2 years earlier to finish my degree in hospitality elsewhere. So I kind of lost track of where everybody went and where they ended up. If you could describe yourself maybe in a paragraph from Bob Jones to now, we can kind of get an update of where your life is.
Yeah, for sure, man. And I totally agree. Whenever you move towns, like you exit college and you go to a new place, it's always hard to stay connected to a lot of your friends and buddies. It's just hard. And especially when you're married too, like, you have a brand new life, so to speak. But yeah, from the time I graduated in December of 2015, I was a little bit unique in that regard because I came into Bob Jones as a second semester freshman. That's a whole other story I'll get to later. But yeah, I graduated in December 2015 with a sports management degree and got hired at a company called 323 Sports. And that has been my only job ever since college. So I moved up to Raleigh, North Carolina, and that's where they're based out of. And so I started my sales and marketing job there. And Morgan and I, we got married in May of 2016. So a few months after I graduated. So I started work before we even got married. So Morgan still had a semester to go. And so, in May of 2016, Morgan and I get married. Morgan joins me up there in the apartment we had. And we had about 5 year stint. And then we moved back to Greenville, South Carolina, where both Morgan's whole family and my whole family are right now, currently. So it's a lot of family and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Fantastic. And 323, since we, kind of touched on it real quick, what exactly is it? I know a little bit about it, but for those that may not.
Yeah, it's a sporting goods company. It's not something where it's like your normal retail shop, like you go to Play It Again Sports. Probably a lot of people have heard of that store in particular, but it's not really like that. We're more set up as a team dealer, we call them. So we're the middleman between a brand like Adidas and the end customer. So let's say a coach calls up me, he goes, "Hey Travis, I need 25 basketball uniforms, Adidas brand." And I go, "Great, we carry Adidas as a vendor." And therefore I act as the middleman between Adidas and the brand to the end user. So I help with the customization of the uniform, with this particular coach. And, then we get paid by that school or that coach to sell Adidas. And they have this whole dealer program with Adidas. So that's just one particular example. Hopefully that makes sense to some people. But when I first got into business, it was kind of like, whoa, okay, what's never really heard of a lot of these other brands that are more exclusive to helping team dealers like Champ Bros, Augusta, Holloway. Those are the type of brands that you normally don't hear about just as a normal person out in the world. But in the team dealer industry, there's a lot of different private labels and stuff like that. And then we actually have just recently, in the past few years, developed our own private lines. So we actually have a 323 Custom, we call it, as our premium uniform line that we sell, that we own. And then we have a secondary line that's called a Good Game. And this hoodie is a Good Game hoodie. So you can get fully sublimated stuff, and it can go from hoodies to sweatpants to, basketball, soccer uniforms, backpacks even, which is, backpacks are super popular. So that's kind of what 323 is. And it's a Christian-based company. It's a faith-based company. Colossians 3:23 is what it stands for, and that's why the numbers 323 are up there.
Do you find, are people looking for Christian-based companies, or is it something to where you guys just happen to be Christian-based, or kind of, do you have people that wonder what it's about, or they're just like, oh, it's just a dealer brand?
Yeah, actually, a lot of people have asked what 323 stands for. So, like, a particular coach never heard of us before. And what's funny about this, too, is that 323 is an area code out in California. So, we actually have a lot of California customers searching
Interesting.
for athletic team dealer vendors, and 323 pops up a lot. It's an interesting SEO. But a lot of people do ask about 323, and we're not in particular, basically, we're not necessarily advertising, hey, we're a Christian-based company. You know, it's not really an ad, but we will tell people, hey, we are faith-based if they ask. And we do a lot of business with private Christian schools around the country. So, and because as you can imagine, you know, you have private schools all across the country, and they're like, you know what, we should consider supporting fellow believers and their missions and stuff like that. And knowing that, hey, you know, we want a company that's reputable and honest, right? And actually has a higher goal than just selling us cloth, right? We want to make an impact with these coaches. And, you know, learn about their lives. And it's like, hey, what is God working in your life right now? Like, you know, just having conversations like that is a beautiful thing. So that's why we do a lot of business with the Christian schools across the country. And of course, we have plenty of other public schools too that may not know that we are faith-based, but just need uniforms, you know? So,
yeah. Now
yeah.
I've slowly I've seen the posts on LinkedIn, and, you know, I've seen kind of that progression, but to me, things seem to be going well, successful, seems.
Yeah. We've really hit the ground running with our private lines in particular, because that is probably, I have to look at the numbers again and ask one of the co-owners that's better with the numbers, but I believe a lot of our business, I want to say 80% of all uniform cloth business is with our own line.
Whoa,
This
that's
is crazy.
huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Good Game and 323 Custom are the two brands. And it's about 80% of our cloth business, man. It's insane.
That's,
And it helps
and
us better too. Like, we have a little bit higher profit margins, of course, in business.
yeah.
And so people love the stuff, man. Like, you'd be surprised, honestly, how many coaches are out there that just like, look, I want a quality uniform, and I don't care about branding. Like, I don't have to have the Nike check. I don't
Mm-hmm.
have to have Adidas. I don't have to have the Under Armour stuff. It's like, dude, just give me a good uniform that's about us. Because a lot of coaches, they're more concerned about the school's brand,
Yeah.
not necessarily the Nike checks, the Adidas. Now, there's plenty of guys out there that are like, oh, I'm just a Nike guy. Like, I want all Nike stuff. So, okay, whatever. You know, that's fine. That's all good and well.
Yeah.
But you'd be surprised how many coaches are out there that just, they don't necessarily care about the brand image, check marks, or Adidas, but they just want something that's quality and customizable
Yeah.
at the end of the day. So,
Is the goal eventually to no longer carry like and work with Adidas and Nike and only be 323?
really good question. I gotta be real careful in case any Adidas reps are listening. No. It's all good. I mean, at least in our minds at 323, and what we've discussed a lot over the years is industry trends. And what you'll see is a lot of these big 5A, 6A high schools are starting to work more direct with Adidas. They're cutting out middlemen. Because Adidas at this point is like, these schools spend so much more money. Why do we necessarily have to keep feeding these small team dealers? Now, that's a whole market you're going to blow up, right? A lot of small businesses like
Mm-hmm.
us that rely on Adidas and rely on Nikes,
Mm-hmm.
they're in trouble, you know, because as soon as Nike goes direct to
Yeah.
high schools and just sells direct, pass over us, you're in trouble. So I think the owners of 323 were I think, wise enough to say, hey, let's put some more time and energy and thought into owning our own stuff. That way we're not reliant on Adidas. Because at that point, you're kind of capped with your price range, right? I mean, it's an Adidas brand, and it's like, I have to sell a little bit higher cost because it's Adidas. Like, as a middleman, you have your costs and you sell this to the customer, and here's your margin. And it's getting really tight. Mm-hmm. But with the private labels, here's our margin.
Yeah. And my guess is, I could be wrong, but that profit margin, it's not like you're selling that much more expensive than the Adidas and the Nike. It's probably similar or maybe a little more. So it's not like the client is, missing out on anything. They're getting the full quality, the full gambit for a similar price, and you guys are able to maintain.
Yeah. And we're actually a lot of times priced lower than Adidas.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because of that fact where Adidas is very expensive. Like these big name brands, like if you're not a big high school and have big budgets, dude, you got to fundraise like crazy if you're a coach or a school. Like it's expensive stuff. So that's why we do a lot of business with the smaller private schools, or even some of the larger private schools. And now we're starting to get larger public schools that are finally realizing, man, 323 Custom, that's a premium brand. Like the quality's there, and I can truly customize it to what we want. Because a lot of times the difference, and I need to explain this for the viewers at least, is that when I say 100% custom, I mean you can literally detail anything anywhere on the uniform. Whereas Adidas, a lot of times, they have templates. So you're only limited to like, hey, here's a template that you need to choose. But with us, it's like, do whatever you want. Put AJ's face right here,
Yeah, I'll take a shirt.
Yeah, exactly. So it's the true custom advantage.
Yeah,
is what we would say.
Huh. Interesting. I'm gonna have to. I mean, I don't have a whole lot of high school connections, but I got one or two. I might be able to. I think could do with a change there.
I like that, AJ. Yeah, just give me a call, dude. Shoot me a text whenever you're ready, and we'll get you rolling.
Yeah, maybe I'll. At some point in my life, I think I'll end up coaching. At some point, I don't know when, but at some point, I feel like it's in there, and but I'll know where to go.
You'll know where to go, man. Exactly. I'd be happy to help you out. And I love the fact that you want to be in the coaching space too. That sounds amazing to me, because that's what I'm in as well.
What do you, so is that, is the coaching, are you coaching like one age group? Is it with a big group? Or, because I've seen you do some private training or personal training.
Yes. Yeah. So I'm a private soccer trainer, / coach, whatever you want to call me. I'm not your traditional coach in the sense of where I have an 11-a-side soccer team and we go out and play other teams. Like that's not what I'm doing in particular with the brand here, Top Tier Soccer Training. Shameless plug here for everybody.
Yeah, go for it.
Is that I focus more on the player development. So I'm getting kids from clubs from everywhere in the local area of Greenville. So whether you play for United, CISA, Easley, Simpsonville FC, like all these clubs that are out here that have a need for their kids that may not get that one-on-one attention or in a small group setting to really help them improve with their skill. So there's definitely a big need around the country. Like the private training business world is huge. Like a lot of people may not know it, but it's people will pay in the sense that, hey, my kid is struggling. I don't want them to feel, not as confident on the field in the games. So I need help with a coach who's maybe done this and can really focus on the individual skill, the technique, the repetitions, to gain the confidence that's needed to then maybe get to that next level, make that JV team, make that varsity team, So that's my job, and I love it. Like it's part of my purpose, I believe, that God gave me, is to impact these kids for one thing, hopefully to, plant seeds in their heart for Jesus. It's the ultimate goal, but also to help these kids improve their skills and increase their confidence. That's my tagline. So
That's great. Would you consider, and this is maybe a future plan, but you've kind of already started, you probably have some plans of your own. You obviously have a brand. So like, would you consider not franchise, but like
yeah.
lending this is my gear, this is my stuff, you use this in wherever you are, kind of thing?
Yeah, so almost like a franchise sense, right? Is that what you're asking? Yeah.
Yeah, like, hey, we pay you this, and then you give us the rights to use or be a part of the brand, I guess.
Yeah, that's a really good thought, AJ. I haven't really thought too much about that type of opportunity, but now that you're saying it out loud, it's like, wow, that some light bulbs are kind of going off. And that's definitely a high possibility, I think, in the future for me. Like, this is a very young brand. So I started last summer with Top Tier. Although I have done private training up when I lived in Raleigh uh, for 5 years. I started in 2019, and it was called Woodham Soccer Training back then. So I had a couple years experience doing that. I worked for a club team called Jordan Lake Football Club, and I was their technical coach is what the label they called me. So I would go in every week and work with all the age groups and do like a 30 to 45 minute section of time where we're focused on technical skills. And so that's kind of where it was like a feeder program for Woodham Soccer Training at the time was, hey, I work with the club, and then the parents see me there and they're like, hey, my kid still needs some extra training to really improve this particular skill. But I think eventually here in Greenville, if I'm, keep bootstrapping it in the sense that, I'm continuing the momentum of a Top Tier here in Greenville in this local area, then I could probably think about, hey, maybe I should hire a part-time or full-time coach to help me with the load. Because I'm one person, AJ. Like, I can't split myself and be another Travis somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
That's very difficult to do, and especially with business, as it's like, how do you replicate AJ? Like, you have your own skill sets and your passion for something, and you're trying to share that with the world, but it's like the person next to you may not have that same passion or drive. You just got to find that person and then believe in the mission, right?
Yeah.
And give them the tools necessary to be successful. And that's what's the challenge of any business, I think. So that is an interesting thought. Like, it could be something maybe, AJ, where it's you and I link up and be like, AJ, you want to be part of Top Tier's team?
Mm-hmm.
Here's some of the tools that you can have and get started quicker.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I don't
that
know.
was kind of what I was thinking. I was because that's been a thought. We're always looking for how can we make an extra buck or two and use the skills that I already have. So I've thought about it plenty of times. You can ask Emily, and she'll say, "Yeah, I thought about it plenty of times, but how do I get started?" Um, and then obviously with kids and family and my work, and I don't necessarily have every Saturday and Sunday off, or um, so maybe someday. But just know that if you get to that point, you let me know.
I will. You reach out, AJ, whenever you're ready. I'll be happy to hop on a call and we can figure out details, hash it out, and whatever questions you want to ask,
Yeah,
I'll be happy to answer, man.
yeah. No, that sounds great. Yeah. Let's so 323, that's what you call it. You don't say 323. So 323.
Yep. 323.
Obviously, within a business, it's a little bit easier to view success because there's numbers, there's clientele, so it's a little bit easier to see that success. So how has your view of success changed over time, from whether that's, depending on how far back you want to go, how has it changed to kind of how you view success now?
Great question. I was actually Googling what success is, if anybody was wondering. Uh, I asked Google, okay, so give me the definition of success. Okay, so it's the attainment of fame, wealth, or social status. I'm like, okay, that's a very worldly view of what success is.
Yeah.
And then there's another definition that says a person or thing that achieves desired aims or attains fame, wealth, etc. So I'm like, does success have to coincide with fame and wealth. And I think it just boils down to your perspective on life, right? At the end of the day. So for me, as a believer in Jesus Christ, like, he's the only one that can save my soul, and everybody else has this free gift of salvation that is available. You just need to accept it and turn from your sin, accept Jesus in your heart. And that change in your life will change your perspective on success, like immediately. Because what is now your purpose of life? Your purpose isn't to go and out there and make as much money as you can and stand on the hill and say, look at me. I've made more money than everybody else in this world. And it's like, you're going to die. Like, have you thought about
Can't
that?
take it.
So, and so it's a lot about your perspective of life and the lens that you view the world. What is your worldview? And for me, success did change in a sense of the fact that, yes, I need to make money because we have needs as human beings, to be fed, to have shelter, to have clothes, to feed our families, right? AJ, like, we got kids now. Success did change, and that's a lot of change for me. Is when I was married. Big first change is now that we are now a couple. We are one. We make decisions together. It's not just all about me anymore, and what serves me best, but what serves our family now. And that's success to me, is having a happy family that loves the Lord. The kids understand what the gospel is, and hopefully, Lord willing, become believers at a young age. And to me, that's success, because ultimately we're all going somewhere and this world will pass away. And so therefore, that's how I view the world now. Because somebody listen to this too, if you don't have the same faith in Jesus, like, your success could look different, right? Because you have ultimate goals that are not in a proper perspective of looking through the lens of a Christian. And that's, to me, that's this emptiness. Like, everybody wants to make more money. At the end of the day, if you don't have Jesus, you're trying to fill that God-sized hole in your heart, and you're trying to fill it, and you still feel empty. Even in the coaching world, you're like, oh man, if I just had, if I was the top coach in the US, or I was the top coach in the world, that's going to fulfill me. It's like, well, ask the top coaches, are you fulfilled? If they are believers, they will tell you the right answer. Say, you know what, this isn't all my fulfillment. This isn't my highest purpose, right? But it's, hopefully I've impacted people's lives to turn to Jesus, right? And that's the heartbeat of the top tier, and the passion of teaching Christian principles and training as well. This ultimately say, hey, soccer isn't your whole life, but it's to honor and glorify God. And if you're not on that plane, and you're not on that boat, then you're drowning. So I'm preaching a little bit, but
that's okay. It's all good.
Yeah. So I guess that answers your question. Hopefully it does. Success to me is, in a nutshell, living for Christ and seeing my family follow suit, like as a leader of the home. So, and of course you can't just negate money. Like, you can't, you got to eat. Like, there's a purpose too in business.
So for those that maybe, let's just say they're in college or fresh out of college, most, I don't want to say all, but most are probably not married, but maybe are in a relationship, and, they're trying to figure out, because I think the challenge that a lot of people have is, like a business, there's success and there's quantitative data. You can look at the numbers from here to here and they're better. But, within a faith-based success, there's not like I have my family, now I have a second kid. Am I successful? Well, I mean, I don't know. But if you have a third kid, are you successful? Or if you have one kid, are you? And there's not a way to look back and until it's like years later and you have a kid or kids that are, showing or essentially just they're being Christ followers, and, they're
Showing fruit, right?
Yeah, showing fruit. But until that point, your day-to-day life, sometimes it's hard to see, or success within your within your church. Like,
Hmm.
how are you making an impact? I'm sure with coaching, it's can be hard because you probably coach and you may see some little improvements, but until you watch a game and you see them play and they actually have the opportunities to make mistakes and be successful, you don't know if you're truly successful until you know they have their moment, I guess. um, so is there something that you look at to kind of guide you from that standpoint, or is it just maybe a feeling, or if you're doing the right steps that you'll feel successful, and
Yes.
just trust? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good question because everybody wants a taste of what success is, right? Like, and to the point earlier, it's that I think everybody has a little bit different definition of success depending on what business you're in, right? But ultimately, it's improvement, right? It's the small wins that are ultimately going to help you get that feeling of, wow, this could be a success in the regards to the definition of training in particular. The kid is struggling with his, you know, footwork, for example. And my kid is just, he needs to have the proper technique. He needs to, change a couple of different things until you finally see that in the game. And he goes, oh my goodness, he got out of that tight space where he normally wouldn't, like last year. Then you're just like, as a coach, you're like, let's go. Like, that's rewarding. And the kids are happy. Like, you see a kid smile. It's like, oh my word, that was amazing. I can't believe I did that. It's like, see, you got to believe in yourself first. That in a lot of times the kids just need belief, man. And so yeah, I think having small wins are huge because otherwise you're going to feel distraught if you're not having success right now. Like, everybody's just in this immediate gratification world, man. Like, it takes time. You gotta be patient. And I've learned, I had to learn that. I still learn that every day. Is like, be patient with these kids. Development takes time in the soccer world. You don't become a superstar tomorrow. Like, you got to go put the work in, man. Put the reps in, and that's what these
Hmm.
kids, they got to understand it. And if you don't have the fire or desire to get better, leave. Like, I'm not working with you. You know, like, you don't want it.
Yeah.
So you probably tasted that too, and just in your business world too. It's like, if somebody doesn't have the passion in it, you can tell,
Yeah, it's
and they're
real
not going to
easy.
work as hard to the next guy.
And then if you're in a corporate world, then it makes it that much harder to get rid of somebody, because you can't get rid of somebody because they don't have passion. if they're if they're doing the job, they're doing the job. But if you can't fire someone because they don't have passion. So
That's
it's
tough.
yeah, makes it difficult. So then it's finding other ways to either ignite that passion and remind them like why we're here and what we're doing. Um, but that's where the whole hospitality side of this, how men are called to essentially be that hospitable. I was actually I went to, it was a little men's group that they had, and it was in Titus. It's like the Titus 10 men or something like that. I think that's what
Okay,
they
yeah.
call it. And anyway, there were two passages, one in Titus, one in Timothy, and in both cases, they talk about the men of the church should be hospitable. And it's, for a lot of guys, like, hospitality and being hospitable, that's the woman's job. That's her. She's supposed to, it's her house. I just kind of help maintain it. It's her dinner. I'm just gonna sit there and I go where she goes. It's not a let me be the one that's inviting people into my home and being welcoming to the church. Most of the time the women are the most friendly at church, but the men should be just as friendly. So it was I'm sure you have to be hospitable to a certain extent, dealing with one, sales and marketing, because I know our sales and marketing team at my work are very hospitable. They're very friendly, kind, smiling. Everybody has a good time with them. Um, and so, but how does that correlate to a Christian world? And so that's something that, anyway, is a focus of this. this podcast. But
hospitality, right? I mean, that's your world too. And because I think the last time that we caught up before this time was that you were opening a hotel, right? In Hyatt, was that down in Texas, right?
yeah, that's where we're at now. It's the Hyatt Regency Baytown. So I was on the event side of things. So it was service from the food and catering and setting up the events and dealing with clients from that side. And now I'm on the housekeeping side. So I see very little of the actual guests, and most of my time is spent with, um, well, most of my colleagues, employees, whatever you want to call them, they all speak Spanish. And
Oh,
so
wow.
it's Google Translate every day.
That's a unique challenge.
Yeah. So it makes it very difficult for me. So I have my personality. I'm generally quiet guy. I'm sure. Yeah, you remember, and tend to be more serious when it comes to certain things. So I'm not really there to mess around. I'm there to let's get the job done. So, but all of that at the end of the day, like I still am very empathetic and can understand and understand that they're people, but it's hard to relate that to people that don't speak English
That's
because
tough.
everything is coming through a translate. And it's like, I
Yeah.
don't know if you're truly understanding what I'm saying. Um, so it's changed a little bit of how I go about things, but we have surveys that come out, colleague surveys, and from the time I got there, they were really bad when I took over, and to where they are now, it was hundreds across the board,
Wow.
except for like one category, and it was like a 80. But I only have a few staff. Anyway,
That's amazing, AJ.
yeah,
That's
it was.
see, those are big wins. Like that's success in that regard, right?
Yeah,
Like, and that makes you feel good. It's like, okay, I'm doing something right. Like something has
mm-hmm.
changed.
Yeah,
You know, because if I've heard this phrase is, if you want something to change and you never change, change will never change.
yeah, yeah.
And it's obvious, but like
Mm-hmm.
the action has to be there.
Mm-hmm. There's got to be something. So, yeah, it's been a interesting year. But I was talking with another friend of mine last night, and we were talking about high school, and he had mentioned something that I had totally forgot about. And I told him, I was like, I don't remember as much as I'd like to. I don't remember as much as I want to from high school and even in college. Like I remember bits and pieces. Like there are moments that I remember, like the homecoming game. That's pretty ingrained in there, and um, that whole day, and just a few other moments. But they always say, write everything down, put it down in a book, and I just never happened. I'm still not doing it. I'm sure one day I'll regret it. But do you have any moments that stand out from your BJU or soccer career, or maybe big
Oh,
moments?
yeah, I have a couple things, but I first want to do this. I want to see if this screen share would work, uh, and I believe it will.
It's worth a try. I don't think I've tried it yet. So,
Yeah, we'll see what happens. Can you see this?
oh yeah.
If no, okay, guys, if none of
Oh
you
yeah.
have seen this before, let me set the context. Okay, we're at William Peace University. This is the neck of the woods where I actually 323 is at. Okay, it's in Raleigh, which is kind of blowing my mind a little bit. But this is AJ. I'm playing center back. I believe AJ, you're playing forward, right? Or
I
a
think
center? Oh, attacking
center
mid.
mid. Yeah, attacking mid. Yeah.
That's right. Okay, and we're just cleaning up this team right now. I mean, I think the end score was 5-1, but at the
Well,
time
yeah.
it wasn't. I think maybe we were down. Were we?
Yeah, we were down 0-1, and everybody was frustrated. I was like, what is going on? Anyway, continue.
Yep. And out of nowhere, this is what happens. To sit back and watch people. We're in the blue. Will and Peace is in white.
Oh! What a crack!
What a
Oh,
crack
man.
indeed. Let's just watch out a couple more times. In case you missed it, AJ literally volleys this. It doesn't even touch the ground. Let's speed up a little bit. It doesn't even touch the ground and just lasers this bar down. Goodness.
What a crack!
One more time. Ball's here. Look how far out he is. Okay, this is AJ right here. Yeah, that was a memory. And I'm way back here, and I literally, you can't see me in the frame right now, but I had literally had the best view in the world besides AJ. And when he hit that, there was no spin at all. Like, I mean, it was just whoosh. Best. That was one of the best memories, dude. The problem was, is it was a little bit of a grainy video. It's like, can we get this in HD at some point?
Yeah.
But that's what it was. So that was one of the good memories, and I'm sure AJ, that was probably one of yours as well. Was it?
Yeah, it was. It was. And
What was
watching
it
it
going through your
over.
head, by the way? What was going through your head before the ball was coming? Like, I'm just going to go for it.
Well, I think I was already frustrated because I think at the time I felt like I was running back and forth and like nothing was happening. So I think it came and I don't know. I was just like, I don't know. It was that
Instinct.
Instinct. That volley that just seems like you just happen to be right where you're supposed to be. Your footing is just right, and so. And if I remember right, the goalie was shorter, and that's why I was also frustrated because I was like, this kid's not that big. Like, how are we not scoring right now? And
dude, that sparked us. That sparked it, and we ended up winning 5-1. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. I think you're right because there was no reason why we would be losing and why they would even have a goal against us. But anyway,
to anybody who's on Willing Peace and actually watching this, like the chances are crazy. But if you are, I'm sorry that we're obviously exploiting you right now. But look, everybody has bad games, but we're just saying AJ had a fantastic game. We had to show this, and I'm sure you got to admit, if you're a Willing Peace fan, that was nice. Like, even if you're an opposing team, it's like, oh my word, that was a crazy goal. Like, that was awesome. So, yeah, for me, that was actually one. I'm glad that we shared that memory together as one thing. And there's plenty of different stories that probably we shouldn't share. But there is one that really, I think, impacted my life a lot. And this was going back from all the way back to right before I transferred to Bob Jones. Okay. I'm trying to get better at telling this story, but bear with me. So in high school, right, I finding this passion for soccer. I want to pursue playing it in college. And at the time I was living in Michigan. Okay. And so I was going to these camps at Oakland University. You probably never heard of this school. It's a smaller D1 program. Occasionally, the basketball team will make the NCAA March Madness. And this one guy last year just went off with 3-pointers. But you can look it up. Oakland University. Anyway, I was super focused on making a college roster. Oakland was my local school at the time up in Michigan where I could commute. So I'm like, I'm going to give this a shot. I'm going to give all my efforts into this Oakland University shot. And I did that all the camps, ID camps, summer camps, all the stuff. And I come to the tryout and actually go to the school. I didn't actually make the team at first. And so therefore I wanted another shot of the open tryout for anybody who was attending Oakland at the time. And that's when my life started to change because that tryout was absolutely horrible for me. I just remember I was messing up left and right, man. Like, I was having a horrible day. And I was like, this is my last shot to really prove myself to the team. And I knew I was behind skill-wise, technical-wise. I was very behind. Like, I didn't have the proper technical training or the know-how to work on my different ball mastery skills. And so it really hurt me, in that tryout. And so I was very distraught. Okay. I was like, I trained super hard and I was like, I can't believe that was horrible. My mom was actually there, of course, picking me up afterward. I'm just like, I don't know what to do now. My life was soccer. Like, I was literally worshiping soccer. So my priorities was horrible. Like my priority number one at the time in my life was soccer. God was, I don't know where he was at the time as far as in my priority list. He just wasn't. Like soccer was king for me. And so when that happened, things started to fall apart for me mentally. I'm just like, what am I need to go find some other school or something. Something had to change for me. And I've heard about Bob Jones my whole life because they would come and, present in our church up there in Michigan. So I knew who Bob Jones was. I knew what it was. And the most important thing I knew was they didn't have soccer intercollegiately. So I was like, I'm not going there. And Northland at the time was trying to recruit me in high school. But I'm like, I don't know if I want to go Northland. I want to try my luck at going a little bit higher levels. Set the stage. Bob Jones University announces intercollegiate sports like 3 months after this. Isn't that crazy? And God was working in my heart at the time. I was like, you know what? The timing is impeccable for me personally, and I'm going to go and pursue Bob Jones because I know it, and I know it's going to be a better place for my heart. Because secular college and universities, man, the philosophies are horrible. Like, as a Christian perspective, man, it's tough. It's a tough world to live in. So I just knew I needed a little bit better discipleship and guys who would hold me accountable spiritually. So I pursued Bob Jones, and I pursued joining the inaugural team in 2012 and called up Jesse a few times. I was like, hey, I'm going to come down and try out. So literally 3 or 4 different times that summer, I drove with my parents from Michigan to South Carolina 4 different times that summer. And when I got down there for preseason to finally make the roster, right, I'm just super relieved. It's like, I made the team. I'm super excited. I get there first day of preseason. Everybody's getting their gear, all their practice gear, all the sweet stuff that you get as a college player. Coach McCormick calls my name to get my stuff, and he goes, Travis, actually, can you just wait a minute? I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, why am I waiting a minute? So that threw me off at first. So I would sit back down, like, this is strange. And then Neil Ring at the time, was the AD, and he comes in the room, or he knocks on the door and says, I want to see Travis for a second. And he goes, I'm just like, what is happening? This is strange. So he pulls me out of the hallway, and he doesn't know how to say this. He's just going to spit it out. He goes, look, we overlooked something. You can't play in any of the games this year. I'm just like, what are you telling me right now? Is this a joke? And he goes, we just overlooked something in the transfer rule where I'm pretty sure, I couldn't fact check this, but I'm pretty sure I was the only transfer student in that first team, that first roster. And you have to have, I believe it was 22 or 23 credit hours to transfer from your school to play on the next school team. I only had 21, or like 2 credits short or something like that. And so at the time, we didn't know what to do. And so technically, I wasn't an eligible player. I couldn't play. I could practice. I could go out there and practice. It's like, dude, I can't play at all. Mentally, for me, I broke down. There was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. I know it's cliche, but there was. And there was even more tears that night. And I'm a grown man. I'm not an emotional person. I was literally sobbing, dude. Like I had to leave the room. All the other teammates were in there getting their gear, and Coach McCormick was talking. I just had to leave. I left the DFH. I went back to the dorm room where I was roommates with John Weiser and Caleb McKissick. So I just was in my room. And that's when God grabbed my heart, man. Like, I can't explain it, but it was a wake-up call that I needed for my life. And I don't know. I felt the Spirit just finally clear as day. Travis, what are you doing? Where am I in your picture in your life? Why is soccer king for you right now? Because you're an absolute mental mess. You put all your eggs into soccer, and what is your life after soccer? Like, if you don't have soccer, where am I in the picture? So I broke down that night, and I asked God to forgive me for my idolatry, man. Like, it was an idol in my life. It really was. And I was giving all my time and passion to it. And I got right with God that night, man. And I actually had peace for the first time in a long time, knowing that God was in complete control. And I called my parents right after. I said, told them the news, and my mom was like super upset because they put time and effort too to come down with me. Like they were there, they're invested too, man. Your parents, like publicly, mom and dad, thank you for all the time and effort, seriously. But like my mom was super upset, but I told her, it's like, Mom, it's okay because I know God has a plan through this, and I'm actually at peace because I know this is where God wants me at Bob Jones. I wake up the next morning, 6 a.m. practice. It's like, I'm still going to go practice. Like, what else am I going to do? School hasn't started yet for another 2 weeks. I'm just going to go out there and practice. So 6 a.m. rolls up. I get up with everybody. I'm actually decently motivated, even though I know it's like, okay, I'm not going to play, but hey, this is a new experience. I'm going to enjoy it. New ring is there. Again. Oh. I'm like, dude, do I want to see you right now? And then he admits it. He's like, I know you don't want to see me, but probably the biggest but I've ever heard in my life, you can play. And so I was shocked, man.
Roller coaster. Jeez.
That was another feeling I've never experienced in my life before. And I'm like, how? What are you talking about? I can play now. Like, what do you put me through? And he goes, we went down to the NCCAA headquarters in Greenville. Believe it or not, crazy coincidence, right? They talk about the situation where a brand new intercollegiate program, come on, give us a break. What can we do to figure out this player, Travis? Get him to play in the games this year. So they said, look, this is easy. Like, reclassify him as a second semester freshman. Because even though I had a year at college at Oakland, I technically was supposed to be a sophomore that year. But I was a second semester freshman. And it's like, you can play. Just be a second semester freshman. Just reclassify yourself. And so that's what we did. And I could play, man. Dude, I had the most motivation. I guarantee you, nobody else had more energy than me that day. Hands down. I mean, there's no question. So isn't that crazy timing? Because think about this, and I thought about this a lot. It's just like the timing was important because God needed that time for me to grab a hold of my heart again. Because if I knew I was going to play the next morning, like that changed a lot. That would change everything. So it was just, oh, man. This is really the first time I think I've actually shared this on video before, I think. But I think it just proves that God is real and that he can work in your life in mysterious ways, man. And you just have to seek him first because that's ultimately where you find your purpose. And I think there's a reason for this story, right? Where I can tell these kids at top tier, look, soccer is not your life. I know it's very important to you to get better and improve. But what happens when you get injured? What happens if you're paralyzed tomorrow? Think about it. So God used that plan, man. He's using it. And I want to impact kids to understand this. Like, number one, you can work as much as you want at soccer, but get your priorities right. Like and especially your perspective. Like if you are a believer, don't lose that focus level, right? So I would love to develop this program like right now where it's a discipleship training program where I would do it online. And this is just fresh material right now. Still a baby in the infancy of thinking, but I think there's a market where Christian soccer players, kids who have a desire to follow Jesus, but yet still want to play high level soccer, have a daily devotional training program online. So that's just new. Don't hold me to it, guys. I know this is public, but I think you guys let me know in the comments, right, of this AJ's video right here.
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments if that's something that you guys would love to see. Basically, a time with the Lord before we start training, and we just hit the ground running.
I think that'd be great. I think it sounds great to me. I mean, coaches could use it before games. Students could use it before practices and training. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah,
I like it.
Sorry, I was a little long-winded with that story, but hopefully it maybe helps some people.
I don't know. I feel like some people have moments like that, I think, a lot. And then there are other people where they may only have one moment that stands out like that. And, I think, I don't know personally if I've necessarily had a strong of a moment like that, but when we look back at, uh, my life and path, I see so many different directions that it could have taken, but because one little thing was different, um, I ended up going a different direction. And if I, like, just for instance, meeting my wife, I did an internship in Dallas, and I didn't meet her the first summer I was there, but I happened to go a second summer, do this similar internship, same hotel and same church, and that's when I met her. So, if I had not gone and maybe I decided to go do a different internship, I would have never met her.
There's no
And
Emily in the picture.
yeah, and then at this point, no August, no Isla, and no life like this. Who knows? What could have happened at that point. There's just, so when we look back, I see plenty of those moments. Um, but I think something that's hard for a lot of people too is maybe they hear a story like yours and they think I've never had a moment like that. So then it's, am I truly a believer? And I think there's some doubt in there, for people. Some people, they just seem to have this, um, they're always gleaning something or seeing past the regular day life to see what God's doing. And other people, it's like me, where maybe I don't see it in the moment, but I look back and that's when I see it.
Yes.
Um, so, for that one moment, have you ever felt like, I wish I had more of those moments, or that one moment was enough? Or, for somebody that's never had a moment like that, how would you explain to them that it's okay?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think, at least in the Christian circles, right? That's what you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah,
To the community that's watching in this particular question, that's in the Christian circle world, right? That moment was a big moment in my personal life. Like, everybody's story is different, and their journey in sanctification, right? After they're a believer, you're an infant in Christ. You're drinking milk. You're not getting to the meat yet, but there's going to be fruit. That's the ultimate sign, right? That, hey, your small interactions with people in the world, whoever it may be, your family, your friends, people out in the grocery store, people on your sales call, people in your hotels, your restaurants. Like, think about those interactions. Are those positive interactions? Are those something that glorifies God? And if they are, that's fruit. And I'm not a pastor, okay, but from just being a believer and sharing what the gospel means, is like, it changes you for love, right? That love changed you. Christ's love is ultimately what the sacrifice, what was needed, right? Jesus's blood and his love for us. And so if you reciprocate love to others, right? Love God and love others. Like, those are the two greatest commandments. So if you're not doing those, then you should zoom out a little bit. And a lot of times too, that can come through assurance of salvation too. Is this, I believe it's First John. That's a good chapter um, to read through, um, and analyze that, and maybe ask some of your closer friends. Say, hey, have you noticed anything that's maybe out of the ordinary for my life, that it's not lining up to what I believe in? Um, and I don't think you have to have big moments like what I had. It's small interactions. I think if you break it down, are people feeling love at the end of the day with your interaction? Like, even for you to AJ with hospitality, like, what is hospitality? You're showing
sure.
love.
Yeah.
I mean, you're serving.
Serving.
That's
Yeah.
what Jesus did, right? You're serving others. So that's fruit of the Spirit. That's fruit that you're showing. And that's, if somebody's just like, I don't know, you can't you can't always look too deep, but what does the Bible say? At the end of the day, what does the Bible say? If you're not reading it, then you probably should, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's where you need to be. And ask your pastor, like ask your local church if you're really struggling with that. So I guess that's my answer to it.
Yeah. No, it's a good answer. It's a good answer. Now, let's look ahead a little bit. Where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years?
I had to think a lot about this one because I think the common mistake most people make is they dream too small. Would you agree? Because if you're afraid to dream too big, then you're always going to be here. Like there's no room to grow. So for me, in 5 years, wow, Theo will be 8 years old. Crew would be 5.5, a little over 5.5. I'll be 37. I would love to be in a place where I'm impacting kids on a large scale online with top tier. Of course, I'm still one person, and I would love to build a team of top tier trainers that adopt the philosophy, of Christian principles and training, and impact their local area. Like, for instance, AJ in Texas, impacting kids there, but also have a global presence online. So either that's via YouTube, online training platform, you know, anywhere where people in the world that have an internet connection can access. So in 5 years, I'd love to be at that point where I am with availability, with training, training aids for kids to improve their skills, increase their confidence, so that they can go back to their club or wherever they're playing, or even that next tryout to make that team. They're going to feel more confident about themselves because they put the work in. So I know it's a little bit more of a vague. I don't want to put necessarily a number of how many kids, but I'd love to have a team of top tier trainers in 5 years.
Okay.
Because ultimately, I don't want to keep this at a small space where it is right now. I don't want to just be me. I think a top tier can be bigger than me. A business can be bigger than yourself, ultimately. And that's partly, interestingly enough, is partly why I call it top tier and not Woodham soccer training. And that's part of my thinking was to be bigger than me in my name. Ultimately, it's glorifying God through what we're doing. So hopefully that's specific enough in a way that, that's where I would like to be in 5 years, is to have a presence online with a training platform. Obviously, financially, I will be compensated for it in some capacity that can, provide financial freedom for me and my family, and other coaches who are on there. And don't be afraid, for anybody who's watching out there too, that you think your market is saturated online. It's 99% not true. Like, there's plenty to go around. Think about the world, like globally.
Yeah.
I mean, what is there, 8 billion people now?
Yeah. Yeah,
Come on,
that's
guys.
true.
Like, don't think too small. That's my message. I want to think big. Top tier can be a big one. Like, I think one comparable, if you will, to what I would like to be at potentially. If you look up on YouTube, don't do it now.
Okay.
If you go up on YouTube, look up Joner Football.
Joner Football.
His name is Lee Jones. He calls it Joner Football. He's based in Australia. Okay. And this guy, I've been following him for years. Learned a lot of good material from him as a private trainer. And excellent stuff. He's grown it to a global scale. He's done it online. He's doing camps and clinics in the whole world, dude. He's going to California. He's been to Texas. I believe he's been to Miami a few times. I mean, he's been in the States. He's been in Europe, England, and he's based in Australia. And he's incredible, dude. He has an infectious personality that you want as a private trainer, man. And ultimately, too, you're not trying to be him. Be yourself. Be AJ in your own unique way, because ultimately that's being authentic, right? You want to be you, and people are attracted to you, AJ. So there's no other AJ in the world. Therefore, people are liking what you're saying. They trust you and they put their belief in you. And that's why I think in the private training world is that even though there's competition, there's plenty of it here in my space. I'm not going to name their names, but there's plenty of competition. Ultimately, I believe people are drawn to the coach, the personality, not so much, oh, how big is your business? Is can you help my kid? And do I feel good leaving that training? Do I feel good about Coach Travis? Do I feel comfortable with AJ? Do I feel comfortable with Coach AJ? Right? Like that's ultimately what the parents are seeking, I believe. So
I think that's a pretty good goal. I think so. Our hotel recently changed how they look at our scores, our comment survey scores, and we started talking a little bit about why we thought why. But before it was done yearly. So instead of, we'd look at our scores and it would be throughout the whole year. What was your average score for guest satisfaction or different, anyway, with cleanliness, working order, guest satisfaction, highly likeliness to recommend. So all these. So it was done for the year. And so they changed it. So now it's done every quarter. And so the goals change for each quarter. So, maybe one quarter tends to be bad for whatever reason, maybe clientele, maybe weather, whatever. And so your baseline is lower. So your goal is to beat that lower score versus trying to beat the score that you have during a really good time. And so looking at that, our theory, and you might agree, is a lot of times, people will have those big goals, or even small goals, whatever their goal is, they have it, and it's and somebody asks the question, okay, what are you going to do in 5 to 10 years? And they say, well, I want this. And then you ask them, what are you doing today for that?
mm-hmm.
And what are you doing tomorrow for that? And what are you doing to prepare? And a lot of it's like, well, I have time to figure it out. I have time to make plans. I have time to do all this. And then they get to that 5-year mark and nothing's changed.
Mm-hmm.
And so, if I was to ask you right now, I'm sure you are, but what are you doing right now to get you there? And I know you talked about it a little bit already, but what are you doing right now?
So what I can do today to grow top tier is to go visit Greenville County Parks and Rec Department and continue building a relationship with them. Because as a private trainer, you want good relationships with community members, right? Because ultimately, you don't want to be shut down. You don't want to be this guy who's this kind of being scrappy, which is good, but you need to be scrappy, but being smart scrappy. So be set up properly, LLC, stuff like that, insurance. And so for me today, I'm going to go walk into Greenville County. Hopefully once Theo's up, potentially we can all go as a family, go to the park, walk in their office and say, hey, look, I've actually just put in a rental request for a spring clinic. I'm doing on March 8th on Saturday at the pavilion. And so I've already got that agreement set in place, but I want to continue to tell them, look, I'm here to stay. I'm not a flash in the pan. I'm not somebody who's just popping up and then I'm gone in 2 years. Like I want to be able to build a long lasting relationship because that will benefit both parties, right? So Greenville County knows I'm kosher for one thing, and they know that this guy's here to stay. So let's give him the most opportunities to use our fields. And so that's what I can do today to start to grow, right? Because ultimately, that's what's going to help me grow with adding more coaches locally. To know it's like, hey, these guys are doing these training events, they're doing these clinics, they're doing these camps. Like we need to give them their space. Because what I'm up against is big clubs. They're going to want priority. Because if I schedule something March 8th, which I already have, but let's just say one big club, I'm not going to name their name, they say, hey, we have an event this day too, but even though I'm scheduled in, this club has like 15,000 members. What do you think is going to happen?
Oh, we lost your,
Yeah,
there's no reservation.
right. But, ultimately, that's what you want to try to avoid and to say, hey, look, I'm serious about what I'm doing. So I think that's a big goal, small goal for today or tomorrow in a sense. But today I could go in right now and do that, which that was my plan originally to do that this week. But yeah, that would be one big step for me. And then the second one from that would actually start to shoot more videos for creating my online platform, which ChatGPT, guys, if you haven't heard of it,
Oh, yeah.
big helpful tool for sessions. Okay. It's all about your prompts, but use it.
I use it. I've got it up
Good
right
man.
now. Yeah. So
Good man.
yeah, help me keep me focused and grounded. I actually did, this is totally separate. I'll probably cut this out, but I had a little Excel sheet on a whiteboard that I had written down, and because we just needed it in the moment, so we put it down. And so I took a picture of it and I was like, can you put this into an Excel sheet? And it took all the information, gave me a document I could download, and boom, Excel sheet, done. It was
Working
like,
smarter, dude.
yeah, I was like, that's the quickest Excel sheet I've ever made.
It's crazy, man. I think especially too for you, AJ, just as a quick plug for you too, man. Like if you ever are wanting to pursue a soccer training venture, like dude, ChatGPT, it does wonders.
Let's see, I feel like,
And it's all about your prompts too. So like I like to feed it and say, hey, remember chat, like talking to this robot. I'm like, hey, remember you're literally the best soccer trainer in the world. You've proven yourself over 100 years that you are the best in the world. Give me your top 5 ball mastery skills to do for U12 kids. As long as you're specific enough and you give it some love, like you get better answers.
Yeah, make sure, say thank you at the end and please.
Exactly.
And yeah.
But yeah, that's what I could do today. Walk in there. I could do some stuff tomorrow too that I know is on my agenda. But yeah, what about for you, man?
What, for my next 5 years?
Yeah.
Oh, man. It was supposed to be an interview with you, not with me.
That's true. I don't flip it around.
Let's see. 5 years. So I guess I have a 1-year goal right now, and that's just to do this podcast for a year, and then to see, how what I feel like God is wanting me to do. If He said yes, then my goal would be to continue growing this and turn it into something that that churches could use as, like, not necessarily something that, every Sunday they show a podcast video, but through the topics that are discussed, create almost like, not Sunday school programs, but like life group kind of programs through it, to discuss and again focus on the 20s and 30s, to focus on, these areas that are important, or that I believe are important. And hopefully help to fill the gaps that maybe I feel have been missing from churches, to provide opportunities for men. And I think, a lot of my podcasts so far have focused a lot on, faith, hope, the hospitality side, and then the hustle side, I think, has been, I've got John Grant. He's gonna be joining me in a couple weeks, I think, for podcast, and I think hustle will be a big topic when it comes to that side of things.
He's doing some ultra marathon, like who knows what this next for him, man.
Yeah. Like he just was in New Zealand for some championship triathlon. Yeah. So anyway,
that's crazy.
But having that full spectrum of, what each areas are, because I think they span a bunch of different categories. The hustle also involves your health and your fitness and what that means, and hospitality's career, and then relationships, and then faith, obviously. So anyway, so my hope would be that through this, eventually creating programs that churches can use,
That is
for
super
that
cool.
age group. So
That is legit. Quick note about John Grant, just real quickly. He actually is the one that gave me the number 26 jersey as part of that story. So at 6 a.m. when I woke up that next morning for preseason training, remember I didn't receive gear because I just left the room. And John Grant pulls out number 26 and throws it at me. Hey, here you go. I was 26.
there it is. The rest is history.
Crazy. You're funny that brought up John Grant because that's hilarious. Crazy timing.
But yeah, so that's my 5-year plan. So what I'm doing is this is part of that to create, at least a year of interviews and podcasts, and then we'll see what happens after that, and all of that. There's a bunch of other categories in there, like the hope would be possibly to have another kid. Hope would be to be living. We want to move back to Greenville.
You're kidding me.
I'm not kidding you.
Dude,
But
come.
well, I gotta find a job, and there's one Hyatt in Greenville, and it's a franchise property, which is not ideal.
Mm.
So like all my benefits, my the things that would transfer to another Hyatt that's managed doesn't transfer, and then if I ever wanted to leave that Hyatt and go somewhere else, they don't transfer because they're owned by a different company and managed by a different company. So they're just using Hyatt's name and some of their resources. So and that particular region, Hyatt is not my favorite type of hotel. So we're trying to figure out what that means. Either that means I'm looking for a totally different career, in something. Yeah, maybe.
I'm not big enough yet to support a salary.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but who knows? Maybe I'm there. Maybe it's just something to help build your brand, and do a couple sessions every now and then, or just help out in any way I can. But
I'd love for AJ to come in. Think about this for a second. Striker keeper clinic. Okay, bring in all the keepers, bring in the strikers. AJ Redlinger coming in, guest speaker. Show this video we just showed you guys. This is how it's done. And then you just rip one bar down, all right? And then,
yeah,
oh, AJ. That's how it can go, man.
All right, well, I'm gonna have to start training so I can hit those shots again.
Yeah, dude. It's just like riding a bike, man. Once you get back into it, it's just like riding a bike. It's just your fitness levels get a little bit different, but hey, once you're back into it, it's just muscle memory.
Yeah, so
that'd be cool, man. If you made it here, like if the Lord opens doors for you guys, that would be awesome. And you know what, too? Like you could still make an impact wherever you are, even in Texas, right? I mean, you're making big impacts, especially with the hospitality realm, and you having a unique hurdle of jumping over a big hurdle of a language barrier. Like that's incredible. That's crazy. I don't think most people can do that, what you're doing. Even though with Google Translate, like you shared, like sometimes you're kind of hopeful in the sense that they understood what you said.
Yeah, that made sense. That little detail that I tried to explain made sense. It's good though, because it makes me really try to think about like what I'm saying so that it's as clear as possible. Instead, easy conversations like this, we can kind of almost skip through words, but you understand what I'm saying, but I have to type it all out. And anyway.
That's big on a resume though, dude. If you're looking for a job in Greenville too, it's like I had this big communication challenge, so this is how I overcame it.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah, I'll have to remember that. But who knows? Maybe I'll start reaching out and being like, "Hey, I need a job in Greenville. You guys, keep an eye out for me." Yeah,
I'll hit you up on LinkedIn too. If you're on LinkedIn world, like I'll share, the connections I have here in Greenville too. Okay. It's like, hey, this guy's open to work. Yeah, here's a recommendation.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. Oh, let's see. We've got maybe a few more minutes, but let's see. Trying to give you one last good ending question for you.
Just ask ChatGPT real quick now.
Well, I've got some closing reflection questions lined up here, so I'm trying to determine if I like them or not. Hmm. Well, let's go ahead and plug while I'm thinking about it. Tell people how they can follow your story, whether that's with 323 or top tier or personal, or how can they keep an eye on what Travis is doing?
Yeah, I think I'm most active with top tier right now, currently. Personal Instagram, Facebook, I'm not as active, just with the busyness of life and trying to build a business on top of an already existing sales business with 323. I do find myself limited for time to just keep posting stories. But if you wanted to follow a lot of like what pictures of my kids, what we're doing as a family, Morgan, my wife, would probably be the one to follow. Morgan Woodham is her, socials. But um, for me, it would go to top tier soccer training underscore. So there's another top tier soccer training that's out there, but I had to put the underscore. So yeah, that's for Instagram. Instagram's top tier soccer training underscore, and then YouTube is just top tier soccer training. So I'm out there as well. So those are the two platforms I'm most active that you can follow me on.
Okay, awesome. Well, super excited about that. I'll make sure we uh, get that, follow you guys, and see what's going on there. But I guess as we kind of finish out, um, if you could, it's kind of a simple question. I probably heard it plenty of times, but if you could go back and time and remind or tell your younger self who's fresh out of college, about to get married, what kind of advice would you share?
To my younger self, I would say it doesn't have to be perfect, just start. Because you can get caught up in this world of what if I fail? And that's paralyzing to any business that wants to get started. There's a mental barrier that I think, in my opinion, that all humans have. The fear of failure is always big, and they think that, oh, if somebody doesn't like what I'm trying to do, nobody will. But if one person doesn't like, doesn't mean they represent all the opinions of the world, right? So you just have to find your tribe. So I'm telling a younger Travis, start earlier and fail quicker because you learn faster and you can put yourself out there and just understand that people are actually wanting to help you. Even though there's naysayers, there's people who are just either they're not in the right mental space themselves or they just have a bad outlook of life and complain. They're going to be the haters, right? They're always going to be haters. But at the end of the day, you will find your tribe. So, younger Travis, start earlier, learn to fail quicker, so that you can speed and have success in the business world quicker. Just start. Like if you got that thing that you're thinking about and you've been talking about it for 5 years to your friends and family, are just bored to death of what you're trying to say, and
Mm-hmm.
the reason they're bored is because they've heard it for 5 years and you've done nothing, then you have something because you're passionate about it. Because that was my experience as a younger Travis. Was I was just talking to people like, what if I did soccer training? I have this passion for impacting kids. I like youth. You know, I love the energy they bring, and I can match that energy and even make them more happy with what they're doing. So I just needed validation. And it's like, once you have one or two validation points, like, yeah, I could see you doing this, then start it. Like, this is what you're passionate about. So I'm glad that I started when I did, at least.
Yeah.
Because what you don't want to try to do is be, a 70, 80, 90 years old. You're like, oh my word, I had this passion. I never did it. How sad. How sad is that? And I think ultimately you're fulfilling your purpose that God gave you. I think there's always this small whisper in your head that's saying, start this podcast, AJ. Start it. You don't know how big it can get because God is in control, but think big, dream big. So there's my answer. Hopefully it's helpful.
Yeah. No, I love it. And I'm sure plenty of other people will too. So thank you again, Travis, for coming on. And, like I've told other people, hopefully, hopefully it's sooner than 5 years. but we'll have you back on and check on the progress and see how things are going, and maybe talk about a few other topics that may become more important over time as our kids grow up, and the challenges that we have with the 3-year-old and all that fun stuff. But
Well, yeah, same stage of life as our kids too. That's
yeah.
we can bounce ideas off each other. It's like, hey, AJ, what are you doing with your kids right now with this certain situation? What did you do?
Mm-hmm.
And learn from that too. So
Mm-hmm.
I love that aspect, AJ, and thank you so much, man, for this opportunity. It was awesome catching up with you. Like you said, we need to do this a little bit more. And if you ever find yourself, looking for something around Greenville, you're sniffing around, just let me know.
All right.
So
I will.
appreciate you, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you. Thanks for watching. This is 3H, so please like, share, and subscribe. And we'll catch you guys in a couple weeks. Thanks.
Love it.